Hey, what's up? Peace and abundance always. Peter Abundant here, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD and ordained minister in metaphysical science. Over 30 years of experience studying general religion, but later on spirituality and metaphysical sciences, helping you to understand who you truly are as the creator of your universe and supporting you in coming into that self-realization and thus creating the reality that you want. So today I have a special message because I'm always in my comment section and I'm always looking at all the comments that people leave. And a few days ago, I saw a comment that really touched me and I really felt like I needed to make a video addressing this person's concerns, thoughts, and just to give you some support and understanding that you may be going through a similar experience as this person. And I felt like it was something that was so important that I had to not only address it for that individual in the comment section, but I decided I was going to make a video exclusively for this particular topic. So their comment is, what do I do if I am desireless and wish for oblivion in order to stop the endless suffering of physical reality? Now, this is a very deep question. And I want to say, first off, my heart goes out to the individual who was kind enough and graceful enough to actually share, vulnerable enough to actually share this comment and this thought process, because it is something that a lot of us, we deal with in various degrees. And a lot of times we are not willing to be vulnerable. We're not willing to really explain or get into the truth as to what's going on with us. And that's why I felt like I needed to comment on this. I needed to share my insight. I needed to share my support in order to support this person, but also support all of us as we may feel this in one way or another in one particular situation or category of life. And, you know, it's important to really get into suffering. Now, when I think about suffering, I think back to the beginnings of my spiritual journey and going into Buddhism and being curious about that path. And I remember there was somebody that I met who was Buddhist and very serious about, you know, that religion and that spiritual belief system. And the one thing he said to me was, Buddha says that we are here to suffer. Now, at the time, I did not understand. And to be quite honest, I did not like it. I did not like hearing that, because my vision, my idea of Buddha, even the images you see of Buddha, is one of him sitting peacefully with a slight smile on his face, right? And so it just didn't connect. Why is this guy who is Buddhist, right, who obviously is studying this, is devout, is very like all about this life, why is he telling me something that I don't associate or connect with the image that I see of Buddha? Which is why I was curious about Buddhism in the first place. And so he didn't give a good sense of context or deeper meaning or truth in it. It was very like dark in the way that he stated it. And it almost seemed like he was at a dark place in his religious journey. And the thing about religion, though, is that because religion is such a confined structure, many times people go through a phase where they are read all the books, they've gone through all the courses and teachings, and they can tell you the book page, you know, cover to cover in words, but they haven't quite come into the understanding of the reality of beingness and really captivating and really gathering the way, right? And so I did have a feeling that he was in a dark place in his life and in his path, on his path of spirituality and religion, particularly Buddhism. But anyway, I remembered that because it was such a intense emotional trigger for me. So I constantly remembered that, and I just remembered that and carried it with me. Not in terms of feeling like, oh, this is bull and da 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 da, but I just remember what he said and it triggering and going against what I understood or what attracted me to Buddhism, Buddha, right? So this is what I say. Throughout my journey, right, almost 30 years, from high school all the way until now, I was always curious about religion, spirituality, metaphysical sciences, hypnosis, all these things. And what I've come to understand, though, is that the reason why suffering is such an important aspect of our journey is because it gives you perspective. Without suffering, you don't have the ability to gain insight, knowledge, direction, objective, purpose toward creating or appreciating, right? Pleasure, right? So when we think about suffering, the opposite of that, or the other side of the spectrum of that, is pleasure. But what I think about when we talk about suffering, I think about chaos. I think about, being unsettled, being anxious, being frustrated, anger. All those things are encapsulated within suffering. When I think of the contrast or the other side of the spectrum of suffering, I think of peace. And now, going back to Buddha, the images that I know of Buddha, right, that have attracted me to Buddha is one of peace, right? Is seeing him sitting, chilling. Even the image behind me is him just chilling, relaxing, and being in a state of peace. Now, that is because he took a journey of understanding that suffering is something that we need to identify, we need to experience, and we need to experience in order for us to understand peace. Now, for the person who sent this comment in, what I suggest is the idea of wanting to just go into a state of oblivion is something that doesn't empower you, obviously, right? Because there are many teachings, many spiritual beliefs, religious beliefs, and if they all kind of say the same thing, I think that it's fair to say that there's an underlying truth, a universal law involved in this, that when we pass away, when we transition from this state, this realm, there is another place we go to. Now, with that being said, if you haven't come to an understanding of how to process, how to deal with, how to overcome your state of suffering or whatever it is that you're going through, you're going to eventually still carry that over into the next life. Now, that doesn't mean that you are stuck. What it means is you're just simply learning to maneuver, learning to gain insight, perspective, knowledge, wisdom on how to put that in its proper place, on how to see things differently. So that way, when you look at things, it's not a matter of suffering. It's simply a matter of lessons. It's simply a matter of opportunities. It's simply a matter of a deeper understanding as to who you are. Because if we don't have things like suffering, we cannot have things like pleasure. You see, you have pleasure, you understand pleasure because you have understood suffering. This is why it's important to, yes, be grateful for the pleasure, be grateful for the peace, be grateful for the achievements. You are grateful for those things because you know what the other side looks like. You know what suffering looks like. You know what struggle looks like. You know what pain looks like. This is why it's necessary to have struggle, to have pain, to have suffering. You see, again, it's not a matter of them being two different things. They are the same essence. They are just simply sides. They're simply edges of the spectrum, extremes of the spectrum. So your journey is to recognize the beauty and the necessity of suffering in order for you to experience peace, which is what you're probably seeking when you say you wish to go to oblivion, right? Because oblivion can look like a peaceful state. When you meditate, and I suggest you meditate is probably the closest state to this thing called oblivion. When I think of oblivion, I think of a space of nothingness, only just consciousness. And that's what we are looking to achieve in meditation. Even if it's for a slightest second, a slightest moment, you are sitting in a space where you are observing your thoughts, observing your emotions, observing your body. And then there are these moments where those things don't exist. And it can be like for the microsecond that those things don't exist. That may be to you this understanding of oblivion, where there is nothingness. You see, that may be what you're seeking for in wanting to truly obtain peace and let go of suffering. So practices of meditation is very important. So I suggest you go deep into meditation, but also recognize that everything in nature has a process of what we can call suffering, or we can call resistance. When you look at nature, when you look at the plants, the trees, those things are growing out of suffering, right? You plant a seed, it's in complete darkness. Then there's gravity. It has to fight against gravity in order to reach for the sun, which it will never truly reach, but it is reaching toward the sun. That's what all plants are doing. That's what all trees are doing. That's why you go to certain, islands or places where the trees grow crooked. It is because that is where the sun is most powerful, in that location. The tree is reaching in the direction of the sun. Okay, but it is going against gravity. You can look at gravity as its suffering. So when you think about yourself, the suffering is something that you push through. And it gets to the point when you recognize that suffering, pleasure, are simply two sides of the coin, just like positive emotions, negative emotions. Many times when I talk about emotions and how to get over the negative emotions of sadness or even low grades of depression, right? Anxiety, frustration, anger. All you have to do is recognize that on the other side of that coin is the other contrast, or you can say the other opposite, or the other side of the spectrum. It is the same essence. It is the same coin. So recognize that whatever you're feeling, there's the other side of that that is right there. Is right there within your sight, right there within your grasp, right there within your reach. You just have to simply acknowledge that they are essentially one and the same, just the other side of that same thing. Understand that everything, start looking around, start observing. Everything has an essence or element of what we can call suffering or resistance, or something that it has to fight, right? To push through in order to achieve its objective. I just thought about a car. A car is fighting, right? The motor is fighting. The weight of the car is fighting. Going up a hill, it's fighting, right? It's fighting the elements, the wind, the weather, the snow. So everything has that element in it. Me educating you now on this, me talking to you now on this, right? I had to get up this morning. I had to set up everything. Everything is always something, some element of work that has to be involved. Effort. That is the essence of life. That is like one of the universal laws of life. There must be a cause in order for there to be an effect. Sometimes suffering can be the cause for you to break through in order for you to do whatever you have to do and align yourself with that which you desire. But you must make sure that you are clear as to what you desire. It's important to focus on the desire rather than what it is that you're experiencing that you don't want. Because as long as you continue to think, well, I don't have any desires, well, that's absolutely false, because everything has a desire. Everything has an objective. Everything has a purpose. There is something that you want to do. There is something that you want to achieve, even if it is just sitting at home, relaxing and watching TV. But ultimately, you have a desire. Whether you feel confident enough to actually pursue that desire, to achieve that desire, that's another topic. But you do have a desire. And so what I want you to do is just really consider the fact that you are here, because a lot of times people feel like I don't have a desire because their true desire is something that they think is unobtainable. What I wanted you to know is that if it is a desire for you and it is something that you're thinking about, curious about, wondering about, it is meant for you. You have to pursue it. And even in the pursuit of it, it may lead you to something else. So you have to follow the path of curiosity, the path of wonder, the path of passion, in order for you to gain more insight and understandings as to things to create, because that is your nature, to create. The idea of thinking about wanting to go into oblivion can worry me. It can be worrisome because that can entail something dark, right? As far as not wanting to live anymore. Again, referring back to what I said before is, you are infinite, you are continuing to live. You will continue to live, right? If not this lifetime, in the next lifetime, if not this earth and this realm, it's another realm. And whatever you have now, you will carry with you. So you should address whatever issues you have going on now. Because understand, it's not that serious. I am not saying that to belittle your experience. Your experience is real. But what I mean by saying it's not that serious, what I want you to understand is this life, though it is important, it isn't dire in the sense that if you don't have it figured out, then you will never have it figured out, that you will be forever trapped. You already have it figured out. You already are that. When I say that, I mean infinite knowledge, wisdom. So you just have to peel away from the stories that you are suffering, from the stories that you want to go to oblivion, from the stories that you may feel helpless, you may feel like things are unobtainable, and you have to let those go. Those are false realities by the ego. And when you simply just start from a place of gratitude, recognizing that you have all you need to do what it is that you are curious about, wonder about, passionate about, and you just simply start along that trajectory and start doing it, then things will reveal itself in a way that will open you up to seeing this reality. Start with the basics. And I know it sounds cliche to just say, simply be grateful for life itself. This is a gift, okay? There is a almost improbability that you are here anyway. It's almost impossible that we are here, right? There's something like a 1 out of 400 trillion chance that we even exist. You think about all of the people that had to come together, that had to mate, had to fall in love, had to be in the same place in order to create you. Think about all the lineages of people before you that came together in order for you to exist. Think about even as a sperm cell, right? Millions and millions of sperm. And you were the one that made it. So collect data on just how significant and information and the understanding of how important it is to just recognize how special and unique you are. Because we take this thing called life for granted. And that often leads us to this space of feeling like, well, what am I here for? Because we're looking around and we see everybody else who's here. We're not able to really look at and gain perspective on who's not here, right? On all of the lives and the souls that are trying to get here to be where you are, but can't, yet you are here. So open yourself up to gaining perspective. And then you'll start to see, okay, even if it is just simply to enjoy being here, that is okay. You don't need to be on some grandiose mission or purpose, right? Some people simply go up on the mountains and just, meditate all day, live a very simple, basic life, and that is fine. They are happy, simply enjoying life. So don't take this gift for granted. Understand that your consciousness is a individualized expression of that which we call God. There is nothing about you that is false, right? That is not able to reach your pinnacle or potential. Okay? Whatever that is to you. So really take into account all the things that I said. I really hope that it gives you something, a seed of something to move forward in a way that is more empowering and allows you to access the ability to witness and really own your desires. Start with something no matter how small it is, and build up to it. I noticed that when I have a desire for something and I pursue it, it leads me to something else. And that leads me to something else. And then eventually, when I look back, I'm like, wow, I've come really far because I started with this one thing. And that can be the same thing for you. So enjoy life. Recognize that not only is life a gift, but you are a gift to life. Thank you so much. Peace and abundance always.